What's up, Taiwan? I'm Eric Gao with 10 minutes of news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Starting off in local news, a magnitude 6.2 earthquake struck Taiwan just a few hours ago. Authorities are investigating reports of injuries caused by a landslide in Nantou County. The quake struck at a shallow depth just off the east coast of Taiwan, around 100 kilometers from the capital of Taipei. It rocked buildings across the country. The worst shaking was felt in the east near the epicenter. The quake has been followed by at least 8 aftershocks. Taiwan's last major earthquake struck the east of the country in September. That quake killed 1 person, destroyed a convenience store, and damaged roads and railways. The mountain ranges in central Taiwan are famous for offering stunning views of the surrounding landscapes. But nearby tectonic plates are rubbing shoulders, which is gradually causing some of the country's mountain peaks to get even higher. John Van Trieste tells us more.
It's the roof of Taiwan, a rugged alpine land where peaks approach 4,000 meters above sea level. Welcome to the Central Mountain Range, where people are few, but grand views are many. Recently, scientists have found that the mountains here are continuing to grow. This is due to the Philippine Sea Tectonic Plate, which lies just off Taiwan's east coast. It's pushing into the plate Taiwan sits on at a speed of 7 to 8 centimeters a year, forcing the land to reach ever greater heights. Over a long time, the southern edge of the range around Jade Mountain, Taiwan's highest peak, could experience particular growth.
现在碰撞比较激烈的这个还是在中南部这边，玉山南边的到恒春这边的山脉，就是会慢慢的在长高起来。
Squeezed by geological forces, Taiwan's landscape is far from settled. And in the distant future, its highest points will reach even closer to the sky. Damon Lin and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan has released its first ever report on how it's implementing a UN charter aimed at eliminating racial discrimination. Taiwan had signed and ratified the UN International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination before it was expelled from the United Nations in 1971. But the government only finalized plans to implement that treaty in 2020. In the report, the government says it will focus on promoting indigenous history, transitional justice, and the languages and cultures of ethnic minorities. Taiwan police have been grappling with a surge in human trafficking cases. Now, footage has emerged of armed officers busting a scam ring on their way to sell their victims. Stash Butler reports.
This video has just emerged of police sweeping in to bust a human trafficking ring. Taiwanese special forces arrested the group earlier this week in Taoyuan, less than an hour's drive from the capital, Taipei. Police say the scammers had kidnapped 3 people.
期间并扣留被害人手机，禁止被害人对外联系，要求被害人不许上离，甚至以殴打被害人。全案将依组织犯罪条例、人口贩运、非法拘禁等罪嫌移送。
The arrests are part of a wave of human trafficking cases. Scammers lure their victims with promises of high-paying jobs, then hold them captive, empty their bank accounts, and put them to work finding more victims. Many are even tricked into going overseas. Police believe almost 700 people have been trafficked to Cambodia and other Southeast Asian countries. They've helped more than 400 return. That still leaves about 300 trapped abroad. Police say the victims are forced to help their captors run online scams.
这疫情大家在家里面常常运用这个网络上网这个部分，其实常常就会收到一些诈骗的这个讯息啦。他对于这个网银这个运作不了解的，不小心的就把 OTP 的简讯交给陌生人，自己的这个账户就被盗了。
Taiwanese prosecutors dealt with more than 400 cases of telecoms fraud between June and November last year, but this year that number skyrocketed to over 700. That's a rise of more than 70%. This gang bust captured on camera may stop one group of fraudsters, but while the scams keep working, police will face an ongoing struggle to save others from Taiwan's kidnapping rings. Klein Wang and Stash Butler for TaiwanPlus.
Meanwhile, Tainan's police department has disciplined 3 officers over allegations that they helped cover up a hit and run. Prosecutors say the officers from the southern city's Mado precinct provided false statements and protected a criminal. They are accused of allowing a man who committed a hit and run while drunk at the wheel to place the blame on someone else.
难过的是啊，不是我一天两天可以把这些组织文化改变，但是我承诺，只要我在职一天，我一定努力地破除这些不好的组织文化。
In regional news, the United States' Space Force has established its first overseas base in South Korea. This comes as the U.S. and South Korea ramp up efforts to counter North Korea's evolving nuclear and missile threats. The new unit is tasked with monitoring, detecting, and tracking incoming missiles, as well as bolstering the military's overall space capability. South Korea's Air Force also set up its own space unit this month to boost its space power and operational capabilities together with their American counterparts. Elsewhere, China has recalled 6 officials from Britain. They were wanted for questioning over the alleged beating of a protester outside the Chinese consulate in Manchester. British Foreign Secretary James Cleverly says the Chinese government was given a December 14th deadline for the 6 officials to waive their diplomatic immunity so they could be questioned by British police. Chinese officials in Manchester were filmed trying to stop a protest by Hong Kongers outside the consulate in October. One protester was dragged onto consular grounds and physically assaulted by staff, including the consul general. Back in Taiwan, new footage has emerged that may help police in the case of an endangered bear killed in southern Taiwan. It shows 2 men on a scooter carrying a bear carcass. The killing has divided opinion in the region, as John Van Trieste reports.
This footage, which circulated online, purportedly shows the carcass of a Formosan black bear between 2 men suspected of killing it. There are only 600 of these bears still surviving in the wild. They're protected by law, and police are now on the case. They've determined the footage was taken in Wutai village in southern Taiwan, the same place where they seized a bear carcass last week in a raid on a local home. They're now investigating whether that's the same carcass shown in the footage. So far, police only have 1 suspect, who is now out on bail. The suspect could face up to 5 years in prison and a fine of up to nearly $33,000 US. In this largely indigenous part of Taiwan, views on the killing are split. Some locals say they've been worried about a bear that's been coming out of the mountains and behaving aggressively, maybe the same bear that was killed. But indigenous lawmaker Saidai Tahovitsahe, whose constituency includes Wutai, says the killing goes against tradition.
在原住民的各个族群，其实都将它视为一种充满敬畏、充满禁忌的一种符号。
Meanwhile, conservationists are skeptical about reports of an aggressive black bear.
台湾黑熊其实一般很怕生，看到人大部分的情况都跑掉。近30年之内，没有人是因熊无缘无故而受伤。我们应该知道说它是潜在危险性，但是没事不会攻击人。
Conservationists say people should be educated about how to coexist with Taiwan's bears. And they say agencies like the Forestry Bureau can always help chase away bears that threaten lives or property, meaning there is never any reason to kill them. Howard Zhang and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's National Science and Technology Council says it will invest in further research into nuclear fusion. This follows the breakthrough announcement earlier this week that U.S. scientists at the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory have moved 1 step closer to making nuclear fusion a viable source of renewable energy. The council will offer grants for research into creating the extreme conditions required for nuclear fusion. It says there is still a long way to go before the technology can be commercialized for widespread use. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally today, we leave you with images of a Christmas tree and lights in Taiwan's capital city of Taipei, all for the coming holiday. I'm Eric Gao. Take care and see you next time.